What's going on, everybody? Adam's already got the comment of the night. Let's go, Birds. Dallas sucks. Welcome to the All About the Birds weekly report here on AAT Sports Network. I am one of your hosts, Chip at Chip for the Birds, joined by Johnny U9322, Johnny Uleka, and Jeff Warner at Jeff Warner NFL. Gentlemen,
we have to welcome back Jeff, though.
We got to welcome back Jeff. I was going to say that. Jeff, what is happening, my friend? How you been? How you feeling?
Feeling there. I'm alive. That's all that matters. But glad to be back. Glad to talk about Eagles football, and it's a great time to get back to Eagles football with being Dallas week this coming week. So definitely going to be a great show tonight, fellas.
I'm excited. So I want to throw the sponsors out right away. Let's talk about the people that help us out. All the links are located in the bio, and then I'm gonna Jeff. I'm gonna throw it to you right away because I feel like you have had an inability and not a chance to really vent about the Eagles or talk about the Eagles. So we're going to throw it to you right away as soon as we talk about our sponsors. So Statement Games, a fun free twist on fantasy sports. I, again, went 0 for 3 this week in fantasy, so I actually need to go to Statement Games, which is a fun free twist on fantasy sports, so I can actually learn all about fantasy sports. And I have to watch Mike Bauer's video that he puts out that actually would help me. We are here to help your fantasy teams. What's that?
You should probably watch it.
I should. He already helped me draft all of my teams.
Because I took a little bit of advice from a couple of fantasy guys. I'm 3-0 in 3 of my leagues, so all 3 paid leagues. So, listen.
Aren't we fantasy? Listening to people who know fantasy sports.
How the hell you 3-0? It's only been 2 weeks.
2-0. Sorry, I'll be 3-0. How about that? I'll be 3-0.
He's speaking it into existence. I like
exactly.
That. Yeah. Oddsjam.com. You can use their arbitrage calculator to not lose money. Make sure you're checking that out. Make sure you're checking out the AATsportsnetwork.com/shop. All of those great, amazing designs that we have up in our shop help support us so we can keep supporting you with great quality content instead of some of the stuff that we are seeing floating around on the radio stations. Because boo all of that. I might rip into that a little bit more. Lots of Rain luxury watches. Use the code AATBIRDS to check out for 10% off. And, of course, my personal favorite, manscaped.com. Use AATBIRDS to check out for 20% off and free shipping at checkout.
Your balls will thank you.
All right. We did it. Jeff Warner.
What's up?
How you feeling about the Eagles?
Look, we're 2 weeks in. But there were some promising points. I would say week 1, the fact that they put off 32 points on the road in week 1 for an offense that did not have any experience or not many reps throughout the preseason, which a lot of the fan base was worried about, was a little promising. But then you come back week 2 and Nick Sirianni's looking like a rookie head coach out there with some of the decision-making, the play calling out there against a better opponent with the San Francisco 49ers. So the youth and the inexperience from the coaching staff and from the quarterback and from the players and the lack of execution really showed out there. So look, going to the season, I didn't have a lot of expectations for them, and most of the fan base doesn't. We know this is the rebuild year. Don't get me wrong. Still want them to win. I still want them to compete, which is what they're doing. Look, despite last week and their blunders and the lack of execution, they were still in that football game till towards the end of it. So it's definitely a promising progression for this team, and it's going to be interesting to see. The big thing is, how does Nick Sirianni respond from that performance? How angry is he and the team going to be going against a division rival on the road on Monday Night Football in prime time? That's what I'm going to be looking for this coming week, on how this team responds to a disappointing loss last week.
Johnny, anything you want to add to that? Because those are some really great points. I've missed Jeff's voice.
Yeah, we missed it. No, it's just you look at the last couple of weeks, and especially last week against the 49ers, the missed opportunities you had, and you missed opportunities. You let a team hang in the game, and a pretty good team as San Francisco is, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose games, and they had that. Of course, the Jalen Reagor stepped out of bounds. That missed touchdown. It's not a touchdown. So and then you get the block field goal, and then you have the Quez Watkins. You get the pass interference ball on the one. You can't punch it in, and you do some Philly special crap, and it doesn't happen. So that stuff, the missed opportunities that they had, it's tough. But you're going to get that also with a young team, because you have a lot of young players on the offensive side of the ball. But I think a silver lining to all this is you take a look at the defense, and yes, they let 2 big long drives. That I understand, but as a whole, if you take a look at this defense, the defense is improved than it was last year in the year prior. They're playing. My thing is, you feel a little bit more comfortable than you have in years past. But yeah, I agree, Mike. Stop running.
Yeah, at this point, you have to retire.
Yeah,
at this point, you have to retire the Philly special.
And
let it go.
It's a big difference to when we ran in the Super Bowl and to now, because now we have a dual threat quarterback. We have a mobile quarterback that teams are spying. They're not going to fall for the whole Philly special thing because teams are going to be eyeing Jalen Hurts. Where the first time we had Nick Foles, no one expected him to run and try to catch a pass. So definitely, yeah.
There was video from pregame of Jalen Hurts trying to catch passes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they were even masking it. And let's look at what ended up happening. So you went from a 91-yard reception to Greg Ward Jr. throwing a football into a trash can. And that's not a euphemism. That's not an alliteration. He threw the football into the trash can.
Yep. Well, it also all started with that opening run play where they lost 2 yards. And the big pivotal loss, which is injuries is part of the game, but once again, we lose Brandon Brooks, and the first play that Doug runs on that drive is to Brandon Brooks' side. So it was definitely, I feel Brooks was in there. We punched it in for a touchdown. I feel he got in a little bit over his head, or I don't know what he was thinking, but I agree that he should have ran or tried to run the football, but I would have taken the points. I understand the aggressive concept and that he believed in his offense to go out there and perform and punch it in, but you have to still be smart. It's a 3-0 football game at that point. Take the 6-0 lead, because then San Francisco answers back right before halftime with the touchdown of their own. They'll go up 7-3. So you take as many points as you can.
Really saw, right. I think you really saw the difference in a contender team and a rookie team that was a 4-win team last season. I think you saw the difference in coaching, the difference in intensity, the difference in capitalizing on opportunities, the difference in resiliency on play call. Nick Sirianni lost that game. Now, that's going to happen. That's going to happen with rookie coaches. But to be in that game, for the defense to play the way it did, to have it be a game where you lose Brandon Graham for the season, which is a catastrophic loss, especially when you add on the way that Derek Barnett cost officially the team the game.
Yep.
When you have Brandon Brooks go on injured reserve for yet another injury. Now, the hope is that he can come back, but you look at the way his rookie replacement played. Look, I like the idea of Landon Dickerson. In his first game, he played poorly. And I know Johnny and I were talking about this on Twitter, and we talked about it in the postgame. But Landon Dickerson played poorly. He's got to step up and quick. I mean, Johnny, are you still defending your boy?
I say it's one game. You can't go off of
course,
what you see with one. He has the defensive line that he was up against with the San Francisco 49ers isn't going to be anywhere close to what you're going to see in Dallas. Now, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to be away. You're going to be in a hostile environment, with almost 100,000 fans there screaming and everything. But the defensive line for the Dallas Cowboys is so beat up. Yes. You're not going to have the quality of, interior defensive linemen, defensive ends, or whatever. You're not going to have that quality that you have in San Fran. Of course, he has to step up his game, and I'm sure he knows that. I'm sure Stoutland is definitely reminding him of that. But for me, I still have confidence in him. And for me, it's, this is a year that we've talked about that you want to see the improvement of these young guys. You want to see what you have with these guys. They're going to have to get their feet wet. They're going to get sometimes pushed around. They're going to welcome to the NFL. It isn't all sunshines and rainbows. No, it's not. It's hard nosed. You're going to go up against some very talented players. It's going to make you look like a fool. You have to know how to come back and basically be invisible. You don't want your name said. That's basically what it comes down to. If your name isn't said as an offensive lineman, you're doing a pretty good of a job. So,
Ryan just dropped an interesting comment on here, and this kind of goes into the next thing we were going to talk about. So just so everyone knows, later on, we are going to be joined by a Dallas Cowboys podcaster. I guess that he needed the extra couple of minutes to get himself together because we're going to be coming at him pretty hard. Because, it's Eagles-Dallas week. But one of the things we wanted to talk about is, how can the Eagles fix what went wrong last week? How can they right the ship and escape Dallas with a win? Ryan's saying what he would like to see is he'd like to see week one's playbook in Dallas with a shorter play routes and screens because that was working. And if you think about so many of the play calls in the game against San Francisco, it was deep throws, and it was deep throws into double coverage to Devontae Smith that were forced. It was balls that were underthrown because of the footwork, because of arm exhaustion. For me, it did show the arm questions. Now, I don't want to say arm weakness because I know that drives Johnny absolutely nuts. Because he doesn't have the deep ball accuracy.
He doesn't have the deep ball accuracy.
He doesn't have it yet, and I'm hoping that he will, and I think he works hard, and he's going to be great. But as of right now, that deep ball is not at an NFL caliber, whether it's because of the footwork, which Nick Sirianni said during the offseason, like he's got to fix the footwork. He's short-arming throws. But then why go to that well over and over again when it wasn't working?
They were trying to attack that secondary. Going into that game, they were without their top two corners. They picked up Josh Norman off the street. He thought there was going to be a bunch of mismatch with a lackluster secondary and cornerback position with the speed that we have, and they didn't execute. Granted,
but then it didn't work.
I understand play calling, but also the players have to go out there and execute, which Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and the team did not do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And to me, you're looking at this game against Dallas, and like I've mentioned, and we're going to get into it a little bit later on in the show, but Dallas is pretty beat up, if you would like to say. Offensively, they're missing a few pieces, but defensively, they're missing a lot. So when you take a look at the players that they're going to be missing, they're moving a guy like Micah Parsons, who was their number 12 pick at linebacker. They're moving him to defensive end. Just because, Randy Gregory should be back from the COVID list, but you lost to Marcus Lawrence last week, 6 to 8 weeks. He's out.
That's big. I think is really big more than anything.
It's very big. And then you have Dorrance Armstrong, who has a high ankle sprain. He's likely to be out. So he's their third string defensive end. You have Carlos Watkins, who's going to be out, who was another player that they picked up, but he was their starting defensive tackle. So now they're going to probably have to go to their practice squad to bring somebody up. There's a lot. Now, Parsons did a very, very good job in terms of, rushing the passer when he wasn't lined up against Rashawn Slater from the Chargers. So yeah, the thing is, he's also a rookie. So you look at that, and then there are two safeties, DeMonte Kazee and Donovan Wilson, both have had injuries, and it's up in the air whether they're going to play. And Keanu Neal, who's playing linebacker for them, he's on the COVID list. So they're missing a bunch. They're missing a bunch of players. And that's not even talking about Lyle Collins and Michael Gallup. So we're going to get into all that later on in the show. But to me, that's a super long list of quality players that they're going to be playing without. So for me, looking at that, and you can't look at it and say, oh, they're going to be injured, it's going to be an easy game. No Eagles-Dallas game is going to be easy. It's a rivalry game. It doesn't really matter, who's on the field. It's going to be, a tough game, especially with an Eagles offense that are coming off a lackluster performance. So they have to right the ship. They have to get their confidence back, whether that's shorter routes, shorter throws. But I think this is a type of game where Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, and you're missing Brandon Graham, who's a very good run defender. You're going up against a, running back room and an offensive line with Dallas that is still talented, even missing Lyle Collins. But Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott as a 1-2 punch, if they're able to gash the Eagles defensively, then that opens up the pass for a guy like Amari Cooper, who I know had a rib injury, so I'm waiting to see stuff with that. So there's a lot of things. But CeeDee Lamb, for me, I think it's going to be more of what the offense and Jalen Hurts are going to be able to do on this Dallas defense, because I think if you're going to beat Dallas, you're going to need to put up some points. And I know they only scored 20 points against the Chargers last week. I understand that. But again, they were able to go and play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and, basically go toe-to-toe with them. So
pretty extensively.
They could put up points, and they're going to be at home. So this is going to be a type of game where hopefully the start, like last year, the start they had, hopefully it's almost you can keep the pedal, the foot on the pedal on the gas and keep going. But that's just my take on that.
You mentioned injuries. The Eagles, for the first time this season, are having some names pop up. So I want to ask you this, and Jeff, I'm going to start with you. This week we had two major injuries to starters on both of the lines, Brandon Graham and Brandon Brooks.
Yep.
Which is the bigger issue moving forward this season?
I believe it's Brandon Graham. Because look, we go into the season and we kept on talking about what on paper we feel we have depth behind Brandon Graham, but we still don't know what we have with Derek Barnett. We still, granted, Ryan Kerrigan, he's been a productive guy in a limited role, but now with BG hurt, what type of role is he going to take on? Is that going to play a lot of wear and tear on an older veteran's body? Plus, that defense, they rely on that front four. They rely on them getting pressure at the quarterback, which the last 2 weeks, besides a little bit in the second half against Matt Ryan, they have not gotten pressure on the quarterback. They're going to need that this coming week against a mobile quarterback like Dak Prescott, a guy that can extend plays in the pocket and against with the amount of weapons he has at his disposal. So I really feel the pass rush going forward, we don't know what we have right now. Josh Sweat last year is still in a limited role. Now he has to step in as a starter. I want to see more from Milton Williams. I feel he's going to be the little bit of the X factor in this pass rushing rotation now with BG out. That he is a guy that can move inside or outside along that D line, and hopefully he can bring a spark to that front four and show you something. So with the questionable question at the front four in the pass rush right now going forward, and we're up against some quality quarterbacks in the next couple of weeks. We definitely need our pass rush at its top of its game.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned the Ryan Kerrigan piece, because the week that Josh Sweat signs the extension that he does, Ryan Kerrigan's snap count was higher with Brandon Graham going down. So is that just that we're panicking and we need to play the guy with experience, or was it this is what we're going to do moving forward? Because Kerrigan was not brought on for that level of volume. Yep. So like you mentioned, those guys do have to step up. Johnny, same question. Brooks or Graham, who's the bigger deal?
To me, it's going to be, I go along the lines of Jeff with Brandon Graham, just because of the type of player. And, you look at Brandon Brooks, Dickerson's playing, but you also have Herbig back there. There's some, other players. I know it's still a big loss, but you look at BG and then you look at who has to be, who has to account for some of those missed snaps now. Kerrigan, Milton Williams is a rookie. Teron Jackson is also a rookie. So you have these guys who basically you have to accelerate their maturity in terms of being an NFL player now. So that, to me, that's going to be the bigger impact, because Brandon Graham also is a hell of a run defender. He'll get his handful of sacks, but he creates so much, so much havoc when he's against the rush. So that against the run. So I think that's one major part. I think what can kind of lessen it is if Hassan Ridgeway can stay healthy, because he seemed to be locked up that number 3 defensive tackle with Hargrave and Cox. And, I know the injury aspect, and to your point about, Sweat only playing a certain amount, you also have to take into account, though, the type of offense the 49ers run, with the fullback and with, maybe putting, Kerrigan in there a little bit bigger in terms of, and a little bit more veteran. I don't know. I would like to see Sweat's snap count go a lot higher and Derek Barnett's drop, especially this week after, a boneheaded play, play him, but I wouldn't, rack up a snap count all the way up. But they're going to have to get a little fancy with things, have Milton Williams, like Jeff said, but I think it's definitely BG, just because he hasn't been hurt. And, you get this devastating injury, and it takes a big hit.
I hear what you're saying. I'm going to just play devil's advocate and go the opposite way because I think that whoever steps up to play Brandon Brooks' spot, look, we know that the issue has always been, is Brandon Brooks going to stay healthy? And we also are now learning that for a third straight season, the answer, unfortunately, is going to be no. So doing a little bit of research, according to the Philadelphia Eagles website, there is nobody listed as the first string right guard. According to ESPN, the starting right guard is Nate Herbig. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if Herbig gets the start or if Landon Dickerson gets the start. So that's going to be something that I personally am going to watch for. But either way, neither of those guys is on the same level as a Brandon Brooks. They're going to have to figure that out. And the Philadelphia Eagles this week signed a very impressive Jack Anderson off the Buffalo practice squad. I don't think that solves the problem. I think it puts another body in the room, but I don't think it solves the problem. So I don't even think it's worth mentioning. Johnny, is there anything we need to know about Jack Anderson from Buffalo?
I said he's a developmental type of guy.
Got it.
That's basically it.
Well, someone who's not a developmental type guy is Zach Ertz, who is now on the COVID list. So apparently something was thrown his way this week, and he got it. That's a terrible joke, and I apologize. But it caused Richard Rodgers to be signed to the practice squad. I fully expect that Richard Rodgers will be activated for this weekend. He knows the offense. He is as veteran of a guy as they have. So I think they'll roll with Goddard, Rodgers, and Stoll.
Well, you also have to look at this. The Eagles haven't promoted anyone the first 2 weeks from the practice squad. So you're allowed to, bring up 2 players to be active, and they haven't done that yet. So I definitely expect Richard Rodgers, especially if Zach Ertz can't go. I expect that you don't want to go with Goddard and just Stoll. I think Rodgers being a veteran, to be in there at least, even if it's some special team snaps as well too. But I expect them to bring up, because also if Ertz is still on the COVID list, he doesn't count towards the 53. So even if you bring up, Richard Rodgers, it fills that spot.
Right, and as I'm looking through the roster, you're not going to bring up Nick Eubanks.
No.
You're not going to bring up Katie Owasika for the week. I'm just looking at some of these names. I think they're going to roll with the linemen that they have.
They protected Elijah Riley, Craig James, Marvin Wilson, and one other player. They protected. So
Jordan Howard, I think.
Yeah, so one of those guys. They protected those guys, so they can't be poached off of your practice squad.
But sure. Why the hell wasn't? I was a little backtrack and bringing up Jordan Howard. We could have used him on that goal. I was going to say that. Yep. So I know the fan base bitching that we don't have a power back. That was a perfect instance why we need a power back on this roster.
Yep. 230, 240 pounds just to be able to get that yard.
1 yard.
Or whatever. Yeah.
1 yard.
He falls forward. So, I agree with that. When I saw that play and they didn't, they lost yardage, I thought, it'd be nice to have a nice big power back to be able to. And I know, Chip, your buddy Matt Templin, that was one of his first tweets too. Was
absolutely, and I agree with him.
People complain about Jordan Howard. You want Jordan Howard.
The fullback.
This is my point. It's not though, because you saw this past week what a fullback can do for your team in San Francisco. You saw what a fullback can do for your team in Baltimore. The fullback is not a dead position. It is just a position that some teams have refused to buy into anymore. And I get it. I do. It is not a sexy position. But you cannot tell me that cramming Kenny Gainwell into the line is going to work. You cannot tell me that cramming Miles Sanders into the line with that front four they went against is going to work. Those are edge speed guys. At some point, you need to power through to get those 1, 2, 3 yards. And a fullback can do that for you. And a running back that has a little bit of size. Look, I am not a Jordan Howard fan, but in that situation, he is better than the combined weight of Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and Kenny Gainwell. All 3 of them don't have as much power as Jordan Howard combined. That's a problem.
The thing is, you don't even see Boston Scott at all.
He is a ghost.
He's just a special teamer, basically. That's just basically all he is.
No. The only way this works, Michael Bauer, is if they have Jordan Mailata as fullback. So put Andre Dillard in for a play. Put Andre Dillard in for a play at left tackle. Put Mailata in at fullback and have him pick up Boston Scott and just throw him over the line. That's how this works.
Oh, man. I think
I'd pay to see that.
Yeah, I think Michael's just upset that the Packers released Jace Sternberger and the Eagles didn't pick him up. Yeah,
sure. I'm furious about that as well. That sounds terrible.
Yeah,
and it was just a bad. It was bad.
Michael's a good idea here. Why don't you put Dillard in, and then you can put Mailata as fullback for it.
I will say the 1 year I had Madden and Mailata was just on the roster, I switched because you're able to switch their positions. I switched him to fullback. He went from like a 53 overall to like a 78, and then the next season the fucking Cowboys signed him for like $48 million. I was like, fuck this, F this, whatever. My brilliant strategy gone to hell. So what are we watching these matchups? Because at this point, this game really matters. In once again, a very tight division. We saw Dallas go toe-to-toe with the champs, and then, they played the Chargers and all was well in the world. Washington, they're now going to struggle with Taylor Heineke. I don't think that this is going to last as long. This honeymoon's not going to last very long. Look, he wants to play well, but I see him more like a Kirk Cousins kind of thing at best. I think that's his, ceiling. And the Giants are terrible. The Giants are so bad. So trying to temper expectations, is the NFC East winnable, and can the Eagles be the ones that do it?
Ask me after.
Jeff, start with you because you haven't had a chance to talk about the division championship.
Look, right now on paper, no one's going to run away with this division right now, but it doesn't mean that these games, especially this coming week, is not a pivotal matchup for both the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, both teams 1-1. You don't want to get down in division too early, and Washington, they're with Tyler Heineke right now for a couple weeks, but with that defense, if they can pick things up, Ron Rivera, a very experienced defensive-minded head coach, can change things around. It's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be a dogfight amongst probably three of the four teams. I'm sorry, Giants. They still have a slim chance at this moment, but who knows right now? No one is standing out as the favorite right now. Look, week 1, we look spectacular. We look like we had a chance. The fan base was all up in arms about us possibly being the crop of the NFC East, and then we were brought back down to earth with a bunch of disappointment last week against the 49ers. So we need to bounce back this week on the road against an NFC East rival and show that we can stick with what some people think the cream of the crop of the NFC East this week with the Dallas Cowboys with that offensive firepower.
Johnny, same question. Are we winning?
Yeah, are we winning? What
are we winning the NFC East?
It's possible, yeah. Like you said, the Giants are, they're just an afterthought. 5th straight year starting 0-2. I find it a little bit funny. 18-48 since their whole boat picture. That's also another funny thing. But no, you look at Washington and. They have the Bills this week. They get the Bills. Every team's supposed to play, one extra game. The Eagles get the Jets, and the Bills go, have to play Washington. Washington has to the Bills. So for me,
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair trade-off. Personally, I don't know what you'd be complaining about. I think that's a fair trade-off.
It's where you finish in your division. So
I think that's a fair trade-off.
I think to me, Washington, yes, they have the defense, but if you look at each one of these teams, they all have flaws. Yeah, Dallas has a new defensive coordinator. I understand that. But with all their injuries, they're still not a top 15 defense. So, the Giants have issues all over the place. So I'm not even going to get there. Washington right now, the offense, Taylor Heineke, okay, he brought him back against a terrible Giants team. But to me, I think Kirk Cousins' ceiling is a little bit too you're giving him.
I think it's very generous. I think that is if he took 4 elevators up. Yeah.
To me, I think that's going to be their biggest issue. And again, Ryan Fitzpatrick can never finish the season. So, for me, their defense is very good, but can they really help the defense offensively in scoring points? So, And of course, we already know what the Eagles. The Eagles are a lot of question marks as well. But again, I think this game is going to tell you a lot because what Jeff said is, you don't want to get too down, especially in the division. And remember, all the Eagles' divisional games are played towards the end of the season.
Well, that in the next 5 weeks, their opponents right now are combined 10-2.
Yeah.
So this stretch of games, you want to win. If you're going to win the division, you need to beat your division opponents because the rest of our games, they're going to be dogfights. I don't know over the next 5 weeks if there's really any game that we're going to be favored against. We have the Carolina Panthers. We have the Chiefs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's going to be a tough stretch of games. This next 5 weeks can make or break our season. We honestly need at best maybe 2 and 3 to still stay in the thick of things, the NFC East.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're very accurate. I personally do not think that this Eagles team is ready to win the NFC East yet. But again, it's a really bad division, and not one team has grabbed the reins of it, and I don't see it happening. I think it's going to come down to the last, 3-4 weeks, like it always does, and we're going to be talked about on national media for being in the worst division in football again. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, maybe the Eagles do win. Adam, I don't know if I agree with you because I really do think that 10 wins is unreasonable because, like Jeff said, the schedule that they have to play coming up is intense. It's intense. So when you come into games like against San Francisco that you were in the entire way, you have to win them. But what it happens is that good teams find a way to win and bad teams find a way to lose. That's what we saw all last season with the 4-win Eagles team. And I do not think right now, could change, but I do not think that right now this Philadelphia Eagles team is a good team. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles beat a really bad Falcons team. And then from there played against a team that does have playoff goals. So that's just how I feel about that. Moving on, like I said, we're going to be joined very shortly by a guest from a Cowboys podcast. I'll do the whole introduction there. So, Johnny, let me start with you on this because you usually have a pretty good eye when it comes to looking at rosters and picking up matchups. So what is a matchup in this week's game that you are going to be keeping your eyes on?
So the matchup that I want to watch, it's going to be the defensive line of the Cowboys up against the offensive line of the Eagles. And the reason is, I mentioned earlier about all the injuries. So, if Dorrance Armstrong doesn't play, you get Randy Gregory back, but DeMarcus Lawrence is out, Carlos Watkins is out, and basically you're moving Micah Parsons, to the edge there. You're going up against Mailata and Lane Johnson, and then Gregory will be the other guy. But to me, their depth on the defensive line is so thin right now that I feel that if the Eagles can win the battles up front, it's going to help them run the ball. And when they run the ball, it's going to help them against a young secondary, to be able to maybe do some play action stuff, maybe do some other things, to get the Dallas defense off guard. But I think it starts up front there with the Eagles offensive line versus a, pretty beat up and depleted Dallas defensive line.
Jeff, same question. What are you looking at? What specific group are you looking at?
I was gonna go similar, Johnny, but I'll go different route. Look, this is probably the toughest task to this season so far that this secondary is going to have. The fact that they're going to be going up against CeeDee Lamb, who is emerging to be one of the a decent wide receiver in this league. They have Amari Cooper, and the rest of that wide receiving core. I didn't understand it without Michael Gallup, but also their tight end Barwin. He's a quality tight end. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can contain these speedy wide receivers. Because last week they allowed Deebo Samuel basically to pick us apart, especially in that second half, and see how they can limit the big plays from these speedy playmakers with the Dallas Cowboys. I want to see Steven Nelson and Darius Slay live up to the shutdown corner type of hype that we considered we give to them. I want to see them go out there and prove that against a quality wide receiving core, because Dak Prescott, he showed what he can do. Given time, he's going to find these speedy receivers. So I want Nick or Jonathan Gannon to find ways to cover these guys and going out there and make sure we contain them. I understand we're probably not going to shut them down completely, but I want to limit the big plays because they have the potential to put up a lot of points, especially with that wide receiving core, the playmakers that Dak has at his disposal.
Right, and to kind of just piggyback on that real quick, I think for me, considering Amari Cooper had the game he did against Darius Slay recently, 4 catches for 121 yards.
Yeah.
I need to see Darius Slay specifically doing better against Amari Cooper now that he has the help of Steven Nelson. It can't be a repeat of Dak Prescott or whoever it is playing quarterback just picking them apart. And with that being said, speaking of picking things apart, we are now joined on the All About the Birds weekly report. We're bringing an enemy into our midst. We would like to welcome, for the remainder of the show, his name is Roy White III. He is the host of Blogging with the Boys pod, the Extra Crispy pod, and he is a Dallas-Fort Worth sports enthusiast. I know, Adam, and we boo him before he even comes on. He sees your boo. He is laughing at your boo. He takes your boo and enjoys it. We should all give him a boo. So you can just fill the comment section with a boo. I'll even give him, here we go. I'm going to add him in. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to big screen him so it is just him. And you can fill in the comment section with as many boos as you want. I'll put up every single one of them. Hit him with the yeehaw boos. Roy White, what is up, my friend?
How's it going, boys? Around, man, all about the birds, huh? You guys doing okay?
All about the birds.
How are you holding up after the week you just had and knowing what you're going to face on Monday night? I mean, it's going to be one of these.
So it's going to be one of these is what you're saying. It's going to be one of these, good sir.
I don't want to come in too hot, but, we got to keep the rivalry alive. It is Philly week here, boys. And, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's a real pleasure to be on with you. And, hey, we're all just hoping for a great game, right? We're just hoping that both teams have fun and that we all enjoy ourselves there on Monday night, right?
Listen, that's what we like. Look, we personally, as Eagles fans, we're coming off of a 4-win season with a lot of questions and a change in head coach and a change in quarterback. I mean, we dealt with a lot of things this offseason. So for us, this game does matter. We're early enough in the season where we would like to, slap you guys around. If it happens later in the season, we'd like to slap you guys around then too. And Peanut would like to congratulate you on your Matthew McConaughey stunt double ability. All right.
Yeah, trying to get into the next season of True Detective if they'll have me.
Well, since you're going for that, then you are going to be a true detective for us, right? We're going to give you some time on this enemy podcast for you, and we want to know what the state of Cowboys football is. Look, we all watched Hard Knocks, so we got a little glimpse.
By the way. Let me ask a couple questions. What did you guys? What was your impressions of the Cowboys football team from what you saw?
God, I hate Jerry Jones. God, I hate Jerry Jones
because he's just like you. Because he eats McMuffins just like us. Because he eats Whataburger, delicious burgers just like us. Just like you and me.
Asshole.
And he flies around.
I can't stand that guy. Yeah, like I'm watching him literally just clog his arteries straight up live on television. I'm like, bro.
But
I
Jeff,
hate you.
You also have to remember that Jeff knows all about the food down in Texas because his wife's from Texas, and she is a Dallas Cowboys fan. So he's house divided
Jeff,
up there.
You sound like you at least can pick them good.
I give her the benefit of the doubt. At least she's from Texas. It's not like these Pennsylvania Cowboys fans that never stepped foot in that freaking state and consider themselves Dallas diehards. Those are the ones I had problems with.
Yeah. Well, at least you picked them well, and yeah. Tell me what you thought, though. I mean, of the team itself, right? You guys got to look at the rookie of the year. right? In Micah Parsons, you saw what he.
We've already seen him. We're Penn State people up in here. We love our Penn State. We were jealous that you got him.
Yeah, boy. Thank you. Hat tip for that one, good sir. Because that's one that I think many people down here in Dallas didn't even see the value in. Quite frankly, after that draft day, immediately after, most Cowboys fans were lamenting that pick. J.C. Horn and Patrick the two cornerbacks that went right before them, J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain, those were the two players that Cowboys Nation was infatuated with. And when we didn't get them, and then we were told that our team made a trade with the most despicable, disgusting organization in football, right? To move behind them in the draft and then take a linebacker, right? A player who, quite frankly, is a position that we have struggled to fill between Jalen Smith and his still broken down leg, or Leighton Vander Esch and his constant injury issues. It was hard for Cowboys Nation to see that pick playing out. And now that we've seen it, boys, it's glorious. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's a real special player. We all knew that. We were very realistic when you got him. Look, one of my favorite players to come out of the last couple of years was a Dallas Cowboy, but I hated him when he was in those colors. But Sean Lee, for me, was everything that was right with football, and the guy just couldn't stay healthy. And then you have the same issues with all the linebackers you just mentioned. So I think that you are experiencing the same issues at the defensive position that the Eagles experience on the offensive line these past couple seasons.
That's fair. Because, I felt like...
And wide receiver.
Yeah, sure. I was going to say wide receiver.
And running back. And cornerback.
On the quarterback front, tell me, what is the temperature of Jalen Hurts? I mean, Dak Prescott wasn't the guy instantly, right? But he grew into that position. Now, granted, not as much of a running threat as Jalen Hurts has been in the early part of his career. And I think sometimes that part tends to make people think, well, he may never find it as a passer. But Dak Prescott wasn't an exceptional thrower of the football in his early part of his career. Now, I would say he has evolved into that type of passer. What is your opinion? How are you guys feeling about how Jalen Hurts has come around now in his second year?
I'll let Johnny take this one because I have very strong opinions that are not very fan favorite. So, Johnny, what are the collective thoughts of this?
So Jalen Hurts has started 6 games. Now, I posted a graphic and some numbers today, with 5 quarterbacks, including Jalen Hurts. Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, in terms of first 6 starts. I think people get, especially in Philadelphia, they get way too, oh my God, he's not going to be the answer. He's not. But for me, looking at him, looking at the leadership qualities, to me, he does, show me a little bit of the Dak Prescott type. I know some people like to say Tyrod Taylor as well, as like basically the floor, and the ceiling would be like a Dak Prescott type. But to me, watching him last year to watching him now, I think he's improved his game in what he can do, with his legs and even with his arm. And I understand people say the arm strength is a big issue. I think that's a little bit overblown because there's been plenty of quarterbacks who've had tremendous arm strength who haven't done a lick in the NFL. One guy, Paxton Lynch, he, first round draft pick that, a lot of Cowboys fans wanted. I brought him up just because it got you on here, but, he didn't do much of anything. Brock Osweiler, you can have a super strong arm, but it takes more to be a quarterback than that. And I feel like he's improving his game, and that's why he should be getting this season to kind of see what he can be. Because if he can be something of improve his game like Dak was able to do, then you have something. And you have 3 first-round picks possibly next year, depending.
Yeah. It's going to be 2 at this point.
So
yeah, well, we're not talking about that.
What is he? Yeah, they're going to beg his ass, aren't they, boy? We had a lot of fun in Dallas land about Carson Wentz and his downfall. Granted, you guys may have had the last laugh actually getting a Super Bowl, although, I don't know how much credit you give him for that, even though he deserves a lot. he played great in the regular season, and then Nick Foles kind of took it from there and kicked it into the driveway, so to speak, on that 200-mile drive. But hey, it's about getting it home that matters, and you guys won it. That was pretty special. Although now sitting here, worth it. I'm sure.
Before we answer that, this question does need to be answered because there is already conversation that you know how to cook a steak just by appearance only. So, how do you cook a steak, good sir?
Well, what kind of steak do you want? Are we talking?
Are you someone who can grill pretty darn good?
Tenderloin? Are we talking, prime rib? Are we talking? Because there's a different style for each. For my filet mignons, I'm going to go medium rare, seared all the way through. All the way around. Of course,
you just made my wife happy.
Yeah, we're going medium rare on that. You can't go anything over medium on a strip. Otherwise, it's going to get a little bit too tough. And then
shoe leather.
I might go blue rare on like a sirloin, honestly. Like the rarer I can get it on a sirloin, the better.
I want
just seared enough on the outside, and then like where you can still see the tendons and the blood creeping on the inside all day.
So that's the Dak Prescott cook, right? Where he's seared on the outside, and you see all the parts coming in.
That's right. Well, Dak Prescott is cooking it up pretty nice these days. If I could cook a steak like him or his boy Chef Hoppy, who also made an appearance on Hard Knocks and is cooking up for all the guys there between CeeDee Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott, putting them on that nice diet that you see that slim down Ezekiel Elliott?
Tony Pollard's better.
I agree. I think Tony Pollard is the better running back in your room.
Okay.
So we threw that down at you. What are your thoughts? Talk to us about that. Temperature down in Dallas.
You tone it down just a second, all right, partner? You better cut your ass out of here, okay? No, Ezekiel Elliott is not the explosive runner that he was coming out of college, right? He's not the home run threat. So when people make the comment about Zeke getting paid too much, that comment rings true because you should never pay a running back the type of money that you paid Ezekiel Elliott. And I don't think really any running back in the league outside of Christian McCaffrey is worth that type of money. And even he is not making a huge difference for a Carolina Panthers team until they actually got a quarterback, right? But with that being said, what Zeke is doing is he is as durable as any running back in the league. He never misses a game. And the part about his game that is unsung and that he doesn't get enough credit for, he is an outstanding blocker. And Michael Bauer, great point, sir. And I'm glad you guys put that up on the screen. He's not wrong. Now, granted, I'm sure when they paid him that money, they didn't think they were, spending $15 million on a glorified, fullback who happened to block. But he is an outstanding blocker. And what he does from a running back standpoint, right? He is enough of a threat that defenses have to account for him, right? Are defenses accounting for Tony Pollard yet? Well, maybe they should be, but I don't think they are just yet. Because when the two of them are on the field at the same time, defensive coordinators are still looking at number 21 and saying, that's the guy that we got to stop first. To me, even if you're overpaying that, it's probably worth it when you also consider the fact that Tony Pollard is getting rookie money on a 4th-round deal. So the combined total of the two, if I told you I got 2 running backs in the room and they're both worth $7 million and one does what Tony does and one does what Zeke does, I think we'd be pretty okay with that trade-off. Most of us would.
Sure. So, I kind of want to bring in a little bit of, I spoke about it earlier in the show. Talking about this Dallas team and talk about this Dallas defense, all the injuries. Like, how is that going to affect this defense? Randy Gregory looks like he should be coming back.
Coming off the COVID list, he is.
Carlos Watkins and Dorrance Armstrong, and those 2 guys I know had injuries. They were banged up.
Yeah, they'll be out this week.
DeMonte Casey and you also have Donovan Wilson. I know they were, battling injuries. I don't think they played last week.
No,
I'm not sure what
Casey did play. He did play last week. He had an interception, actually. He's got 2 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. He forced a fumble in week 1 against the Bucs. He got a pick last week, and he looks good to go. The defensive injuries, right? The big one is Tank, DeMarcus Lawrence, Tank as we call him. He is their best defensive player. Well, maybe not anymore with Micah Parsons doing what he's doing, but he was their best defensive player. And so that was a big loss, right? Losing him to a foot injury and then being out Randy Gregory as well. The hype around Randy Gregory, and I am a Randy Gregory enthusiast, the hype around him has probably always outstripped a little bit of what he's actually produced on the field when he's had that opportunity. But right now, I mean, health-wise, the defensive line looks banged up. But they, at the beginning of the season, were at their deepest at the linebacker position, and they've got several guys in that area that kind of double as hybrid type players. You've seen what Micah Parsons can do rushing the passer. Keanu Neal is another player, although probably not going to be available this week, but another player who doubled as kind of a linebacker / safety type. And then on the back end, they've got a better safety group than they've had probably in 4 or 5 years. And that's not just one player. I think 2 or 3 players in their safety room between Jaron Kearse and Malik Hooker and KZ, as you mentioned, and Donovan Wilson, who missed last week but will return against the Eagles on Monday night. All 4 of those guys are better than some of the names we've had and the guys that we've rolled out there in seasons past. So while, yes, I agree with you that the defensive injuries are a concern, no offense to you guys, but the Cowboys are embarking on the weakest part of their schedule over the next 7 weeks. They will likely play 7 games where they are going to be favored in all likelihood. The Eagles, the Giants, the Patriots, the Vikings, the Broncos, the Falcons. Tell me if you'd pick any of those teams to beat the Cowboys right now. Outside of the Eagles, obviously, because division rivals and all that. No offense, of course, boys. But they are kind of embarking on the perfect time to be losing these guys from an injury standpoint.
Right.
The ones I'm a little bit more concerned on is the offense, right? They already lost Michael Gallup, who's been put on IR. Lyle Collins, the right tackle, is going to miss 5 weeks if he can't figure out a way to combat his drug suspension for missed drug tests that he was supposed to be available for. So, if they lose a Zach Martin or a Tyron Smith or either of the 2 wide receivers that they have remaining, then we could be talking about some serious problems. But defensively, as many injuries as they're having, I'm not as concerned. And, the reason being, they just won a game for the first time since October of 2018 where they didn't have to score 30 points.
Yeah. I think that's big. So this is kind of a 2-part question. So Adam has this question, and it's, what do you think of Mike McCarthy as your coach? Number 1. And the part that I want to follow it up with is, again, from an outsider watching that first game against the Bucs, how did you feel about Dak Prescott in his first game back, dealing with a throwing injury, throwing the ball 50 times?
They soft pedaled that. They probably were overly cautious with what was going on with that injury. And there was a lot of, shadiness about how they were speaking about it, how they were talking about it. I think in today's NFL, especially with quarterbacks, you almost, put them in bubble wrap until the regular season anyway. So I was never that concerned about it. I've spoken to enough people that were around the team. The week prior, he was ramping up and making all the throws that, we would expect him to be able to make as the regular season goes into it. So I'll be honest, I didn't have as much anxiety about it as I might have if I never knew that he was throwing the football. But, he was slinging it around the week prior, and we were all feeling pretty good about that. And the reports were pretty good about that as well. Amari Cooper was making his way back, and that's his, his favorite target, or at least has been up to this point. So everything kind of seemed to be aligning in the right direction for the Cowboys. As far as, what we think of Mike McCarthy as the coach, the jury's still out.
Okay.
If he were to miss the playoffs this year, then I think it's very likely he would be fired. I don't think he would get more than 2 seasons to fix this because of, quite honestly, the Joes that they have available. Jimmy Johnson once said it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes. Well, the Jimmys and the Joes are pretty damn good, right?
Yeah.
Certainly good enough to win, at least right now, what appears to be not that strong of a division. I mean, this is a division that last year's winner won 6 games, and that team is supposed to be the biggest threat to the Cowboys winning the division this season. So, do we feel great about Mike McCarthy? No. Does he do anything on game day? No. In fact, the only thing that he's supposed to be responsible for is managing the damn clock, and somehow he lost track of that last week when they had an opportunity to push the ball a little bit closer to give Greg Zuerlein a manageable field goal, and they wound up going for a 56-yarder and running out the final 30 seconds of the game without running a single play. That raised red flags all over the place. And when you realize that Kellen Moore calls the offensive plays, right? And Mike McCarthy isn't involved in the defensive scheme, you ask yourself, what would you say you do here, Mr. McCarthy?
Kellen Moore becomes your next head coach.
It would be trending that way. And there's a lot of Cowboys fans that right now, at least, it appears Kellen Moore is maybe amongst the hottest assistant coaches. I don't want to say available. We're probably too early for that. But he's amongst the hottest assistant coaches in the NFL right now. And being within the Cowboys stratosphere and having a successful run is always going to put you in that position. The question is, will Jerry pony up the money to keep him as an assistant the way he did with Jason Garrett so that he can make him the next head coach when the time comes for it?
Right. And Adam with another great follow-up. Did they keep Jason Garrett too long? I know we're a couple seasons removed from our friend. Hell yes. Okay.
Hell yes, they did.
Nothing else. Got it. Hell yes.
Hell yes, they did.
Look what he's doing for the New York Giants. Absolutely nothing. So
that's Coach Garrett. That's Coach Garrett, friends.
The same shit he was doing for us, okay, which is running on first down, throwing on second down. If it's 3rd and 5, you're throwing on 3rd down, right? It's making bad decisions.
Very predictable, yeah.
Right, in the red zone. It's basic, and it's not overly impressive. And it doesn't really highlight the skill sets of the individual players that you have, right? It's not a game plan that's tailored to the offensive weaponry that you have, which is what I think the Cowboys are doing now under Kellen Moore, right? They're using Tony Pollard in the way that he succeeds best. They're using Ezekiel Elliott in the way that he succeeds best. They're using the 2 tight ends in the ways that they can do damage. And that's not something that Jason Garrett did. Unfortunately, Jason Garrett saved his own ass so many times with 8-8 seasons, right? Had he finished the season 7-9, one of those 4 times, he probably would have been gone. But they held on to him way too long, no doubt about it.
So who's your X factor this week?
It's got to be Micah, right? It's got to be Micah.
You are all about Micah Parsons. That's great.
I mean, we are drinking his bathwater right now here in Dallas.
We are. I'll give him that, though. We are.
Hey, 100%. Look, Micah Parsons is as impressive of a defensive rookie that we've seen around here since DeMarcus Ware. And
he's working with DeMarcus Ware.
And he's working with DeMarcus Ware on those pass rushing moves. The reason he's the X factor, though, is because he's going to be the mirror to Jalen Hurts and what I think most Cowboys fans fear most about the Eagles, right? Is Jalen Hurts going to beat you with his legs? Can he beat you with his legs? Yes, he could. He could beat the Cowboys with his legs. But do the Cowboys take Micah Parsons now and use him as a spy on Jalen Hurts to prevent him from making those moves out of the backfield, right? Do they use him as a pass rusher Is Jalen going to have to be aware from one play to the next if Micah Parsons is in a linebacker position or if he's lined up on the outside shoulder of, Lane Johnson, or if he's lined up on the outside shoulder of the other one, Michaela. I can never say his name. Malachi.
Jordan Mailata. You best learn that name and put some respect on it.
No, I do. I understand he is a really good player, and I know, he was brought in as kind of like the next one along your offensive line. How has he panned out in that regard, by the way?
He's been exceptional. We are big Jordan Mailata fans.
Okay, because he had a great game last week, didn't he? Against Bosa, wasn't it?
He did.
Man.
He definitely did.
Yeah.
All right, listen.
What do you guys think?
Go ahead.
If you're going to win this game, because I'll be honest, Cowboys Nation is brimming with confidence going into this game. They feel very good. Not only the fact that primetime game at home, right, and our offense is clicking. And the defense, again, just gave us a win and allowed us to not have to score 30 points to do it for the first time since 2018. How do you guys see this game playing out on Monday night? And if you get the win, how does it happen?
Jeff, I'll start. Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, let Jeff go first. Go ahead, Jeff.
We brought it up earlier in the show that it's really going to come down to the Eagles getting pressure on Dak Prescott. I kind of feel this game's going to be a shootout, especially with both defenses. Yeah, they've been playing well, but there's just too much offensive firepower from both teams. And it's going to be interesting to see because we do not know if Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts if they're able to win in shootouts, if this offense can keep up with them, especially after last week where we put up over 200 yards in the first half and only had 3 points to show for it. So especially losing Brandon Graham also on that front four, it's going to be interesting to see what Jonathan Gannon, how he designs different blitz packages and find ways to get pressure on Dak Prescott, because if you give Dak Prescott time in the pocket with those offensive weapons, he's going to beat you. So it's definitely going to come down to the Eagles' defensive line for us to win this football game, and a consistent play from Jalen Hurts running that offense and putting points in the end zone, hopefully.
I think, this game, a lot of it has to do with Jalen Hurts. And the opportunities the Eagles had last week that they weren't able to cash in on, that's huge. Of course, it cost them the game, because if they're able to cash in on the opportunities that they missed, they would have won the game. My thing is, if the opportunities are there, they have to be able to score. And I think they're going to have to score points if they're going to want to win. They're not going to be able to play a defensive battle against the Cowboys. I just don't see it happen with the way Dak Prescott plays against the Eagles, and the way, the Dallas offense can score points. You're going to need to be able to put up some points to be able to beat the team. So I think that's going to be my thing, is Jalen Hurts and this offense and how they're able to score points, because they're going to need to score points, I think, if they want to win the game.
I think for me, it ties into the confidence of it. They played such a bad game last week that they need to score early in order to kind of piggyback on each drive. I think if they start going very stale early on, they're going to start getting in their heads, and I don't think they win a second half if they don't put up a solid 2 to 3 touchdowns in the first. So they have to score early. They have to score often, because the Cowboys have already shown their offensive firepower ability. And when you're looking at both sides of the ball, Dallas's offense is what's going to be that wins them the games that they do this year, because the defense is a work in progress.
Yep, for sure. No question about it. Well, I'm also curious, what has happened to Zach Ertz? I know he's on COVID, right? So he may still be able to get 2 negative tests between now and Monday night. Thankfully, they're playing on Monday night. That gives him a shot. But he has been a Cowboys killer and a player that the Cowboys have struggled to match up against over the years. And it seems like he's been an afterthought with Jalen Hurts under center. Without him as that weapon, is it DeMonte? I mean, is it really – you're relying on Devontae Smith, the rookie, granted, a Heisman winner, so high pedigree, but to rely on a rookie to essentially carry your offense outside of the quarterback, that seems like a high level of expectations.
Yeah, I think they need to worry. I think they need to focus more on the tight ends, whether it's Dallas Goedert or whether it's Zach Ertz. If he plays, a security blanket for a young quarterback is your tight end, and you see that a lot around the league, throughout the league. And I feel like that's something that we didn't see it last week. They rarely went the tight end. I think the tight end only had a couple catches, if that.
Yeah.
So, they need to attack a little bit middle of the defense with the tight ends to be able to open more things up, to be able to possibly open up the field for your other young receivers, your fast receivers, your running backs, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think you make a good point. You want to be able to do that, but is Zach Ertz just he's I don't know. I don't know. I can't really put a point on what's going on with it.
His best friend left town, and now he's sulking in the locker room. Is that it?
But I mean, even last season, Zach Ertz was not the Zach Ertz of old. I think Zach Ertz, when he comes back, he needs to kind of get back into the flow of it. But as Johnny said, we have got to refocus on the tight ends. The last 2 weeks, there has not been the focus on that, which was something that we thought with Sirianni coming over that would be a focus since he was coming from Indianapolis, since they ran all those 2 tight end sets, and it just hasn't been the case yet. So, as Peanut's saying here, like Dallas Goedert has a chance, but at this point he's had so many chances to have breakout games that it would be great if he took any of those chances. It's just that these guys have got to take the chances when they are given to them. Well, and with that, listen, we do have a couple other segments that we want to do real quick, and you definitely get to be a part of them. But here we go. So some of the segments that we do here, the first one we do is called the Uleka Lock. See the guy underneath you there? That's Johnny Uleka. So I'm gonna play this real quick, and then Johnny can explain the segment. Hold on.
It's time for the Uleka Locks of the week. Who's your lock?
So
okay,
what this is basically it doesn't have to be this game. It could be any game this weekend. It's one thing that you're so confident in. So for example, last week's locks were Chip said Tampa was going to win by 20. So he was right there.
And they did.
I unfortunately
they did.
I unfortunately said Justin Herbert was going to have 4 touchdowns and Los Angeles was going to win by 17. I was way off. Way wrong.
They did not.
But and then Mike Bauer, which he commented, he was on our show last week. He said Miles Sanders would have 125 rush yards, 50 receiving yards. He did not. On that. But again, that's what it kind of is. It's basically you making.
By the way, you were close on Herbert. He had 2 taken away from him. So he might have thrown 4 in the end.
I think I'm going to stay away from the quarterbacks because week 1 I said Sam Darnold was going to have 4 touchdowns against the Jets, and he didn't do anything close to that. So I'm staying away from quarterbacks from now on. But that's what
I think it's a solid idea.
It's basically an outlandish whatever you want. A prediction that it could be a bold prediction, which mine usually are, and they're wrong. But we're all wrong sometimes.
Okay,
so we'll do ours, and then we'll let you throw one in as well. So, Jeff, it's been a little bit. Do you have a Uleka lock on standby?
I didn't know we were going this route. Last year it was just spread. So I'll just say I'll go with this game. I'm going to feel Devontae Smith. He's going to have his first 100-yard game and 2 touchdowns against the Dallas Cowboys secondary.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
You better hope he's going up against Anthony Brown, because if he's got Trayvon Diggs on him, it's going to be a long day, partner.
Are you sure?
That's the one thing that I think is really not fair, that your secondary gets to practice against Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. I mean, like,
iron sharp as iron, baby. Iron sharp.
Hey, Devontae Smith got to practice against Patrick Surtain all those weeks in college, so he went up against the top corner in the draft.
He also did play with Trayvon Diggs in Alabama too, so
that's true.
Familiarity there. So
yeah, they've probably seen each other a time or two.
Minute or two, yeah.
So, Chip, go ahead. What is your lock?
So my Uleka lock is actually going to hurt my feelings fantasy-wise, because my fantasy defense is the Washington football team. But they're going up against the Buffalo Bills team that at this point has really struggled. So my Uleka lock this week is that the Washington football team is going to allow 30 or more points to the Buffalo Bills.
That's bold, but it ain't
like
that
it.
bold. But it's still good. I'm gonna go with the Falcons-Giants game.
Okay.
And I still think the Falcons will win, but I think Saquon Barkley is going to have over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown, kind of get himself, back into the groove of things. And I'm doing it because I'm going the Penn State route. So that's my Uleka lock of the week. Saquon's going to go over 100 and a touchdown.
No.
All right.
So it won't
it.
happen. So let's just say that.
I like it. Well, just looking at the week 3 slate, right? This is a game that I've had my eye on. I think it's going to be the game that most everybody will be watching in the afternoon, because when you consider the other 3, Jets, Broncos, Dolphins, Raiders, and Seahawks, Vikings, who wants to watch any of that? But sandwiched in between all that will be the 2-0 Los Angeles Rams playing host to the 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think that the Los Angeles Rams are going to announce themselves to the rest of the NFL as true contenders when they knock off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. Matthew Stafford throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Rams defense does what you have to do against Tom Brady, which is get pressure up the middle. And Aaron Donald can do that, can move him around in the pocket and cause him enough concern that I think that the Los Angeles Rams are going to announce themselves as true contenders to the NFL with the win over the Bucs there on Sunday afternoon.
That's a big one. And I do think that is 100% the game of the week. 100% the game of the week. Yeah,
I wonder and I'll be honest, I mean, I assume that the Bucs are favored in that game, despite the fact that the Rams are 6-1 against Tampa in their last 7 matchups. But I gotta believe the Bucs are
right. But let me check.
Okay,
check that.
I'm incorrect. The Bucs are 1-point underdogs. Now, to me, on a neutral field site, that means the Bucs would be favored by 2. So there's still probably, and I bet that line gets probably bet down to even by Sunday. But I think the Rams win in what I would consider to be an upset.
I think Tampa secondary can be exposed big time, especially with,
I agree.
They got some injuries there and they don't have much depth. So, and you saw it in Dallas when Murphy Bunting went out with the injury, and then you take a look at that and you look at an offense with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, Deshaun Jackson's there, but you look at an offense like the Rams and Matt Stafford.
You know how many routes Deshaun Jackson ran last week?
Good old
big old fat.
Yep.
None of those.
That's another one. Throw that on our scrap heap.
He probably hurt his hamstring or something.
Yeah, that poor guy, man. I mean, he was one we feared when he played with Philly. That's for sure. He was. Now we didn't fear him, once he broke free and got close to the end zone, because he was probably going to drop the ball before he got there. Well, today would be flagged for taunting. I'm sure, right? Yeah. So double whammy.
He would be,
You don't get the touchdown and you get a 15-yard penalty. By the way, rivalry game, will we see a taunting penalty between the Cowboys and Eagles on Monday night?
Yes. Because I think Nick Sirianni is going to have him so fired up. And the fact
that
it's a primetime game.
That seems like a Uleka lock right there.
I think that's a Uleka agreement that the 4 of us are agreeing to. There will be a taunting penalty at some point on Monday night. So we have to do our official game predictions, and I also want to we're going to kind of combine segments and recap our picks from last week. Mostly because I did really well last week, so I would like to recap our picks from last week. Jeff, you have that in front of you, or
I did not.
You have that all ready to go?
I did not know I was supposed to do that.
Oh, I apologize. It's all good. So
I just know I sucked last week. So
that's why I'm throwing it out there. I would like to take credit for my great pick of weeks.
I'll make sure for next week.
So I'll let you know that I finished 11-5 last week. Yeah, I'm feeling good about this week.
Yeah, but you were second place because Jeremy Bridges, who does our Tuesday show, former NFL lineman, he was 12-4 last week.
All right. Well,
so he's still in first
he's got
place.
a leg up on me on quite a lot of things. So
a few legs up, yes.
Yeah, a few legs up. So, all right, we're going to go around to our official game predictions because normally for away games, we do broadcast live from the West End, but they have a private event that night. So we are not going to be broadcasting from the West End. Instead, it'll be an episode of Chips and Dish leading up to the game, special at 7 o'clock. However, we do want to put in our official game predictions, score included as well. So we are going to whip around real quick and lock in our official score predictions and why. So we'll be nice. Well, let's throw it to our guest first. You know, Mr. Matthew McConaughey himself, Roy White. Who's going to win and give us a score and why?
Well, boys, we're looking at an old-fashioned shootout here down in Dallas, and the Dallas Cowboys are going to wind up winning this one, and I think it's going to be by a fairly significant margin, 34-24. But it's actually going to be worse than that because they'll allow the Eagles to score a late touchdown to make it 24. Otherwise, that game would probably be 34-17, and the Cowboys are doubling them up. But look, the offensive firepower is significant. And every week, last season, right, we used to think of 30 points as kind of like an outlier. If you're scoring 30 on a regular basis, you're doing well. Well, last season, 7 teams averaged 30 points or more a game. And while Dak Prescott was healthy, he was averaging 35 a game. And I think the offense is a little bit better this season, more well-rounded than they were a season ago. So unless Philadelphia can find a way to keep up from a scoring sense, or they can do what Los Angeles did a week ago, which is have very long drives that keep the offense off the field.
Yep.
That's really kind of where I see their chances lying. And quite frankly, again, no offense to you boys, but I think they're just a little bit too young and inexperienced to be able to deliver that type of performance, especially in prime time. And that's why I think the Cowboys wind up kind of walking away from this one comfortably, 34-24. Final score.
All right. Jeffrey Warner, what you got?
I respect Roy's opinion, but I kind of feel he's underestimating this Eagles team a little bit. Look, I just kind of feel you're not giving us enough credit. This is still a offense that put up 32 points in week
against
one.
The Falcons, against the Falcons, that's the worst defense in the NFL a year ago.
But it's still an NFL team on the road in Atlanta. And a defense that kept them out of the end zone, allowing only 6 points. I understand last week was a letdown game. I want to see how they bounce back, but I do agree with you. Look, the Cowboys they had too much offensive firepower with that 1-2 punch with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. And the fact that we lost our best pass rusher and one of our top offensive linemen, it's going to be interesting to see how the Eagles can bounce back from that. I do see a little bit closer than what you expected, though. I have the Dallas Cowboys winning this football game, unfortunately, just because of the home field advantage. And I agree. I just don't see this team being able to compete in a shootout just yet. I do have the Cowboys winning 33-27.
Okay.
Jeff did that because
if
he picked the Eagles, he had to go upstairs and listen to his wife yell at him.
I'm a realist.
Hey, Jennifer, I like you making your presence known on the broadcast here. You keep it coming, and you tell them the truth, okay? It sucks, I'm sure, right? It sucks to have to eat that spoonful after spoonful of truth, but it is what it is at this point, unfortunately.
Plus, we suck in Dallas.
So,
how do you feel about it, Johnny?
So I'm going to, looking at this game, I think you're going to have to score points to beat this team in the Dallas Cowboys. And, I understand what you say with Dallas defense. I think it's going to be, a little bit bigger of an issue than I think some fans think in terms of, the depth. I know you get Randy Gregory back, but you're still losing a couple key pieces in the interior of that defense. And what you said this isn't Doug Peterson running the Eagles where he's going to stop running the ball. I think Nick Sirianni, if they're able to, create holes, they're able to run the ball, control the ball, be able to put points on the board with doing that, they're not going to shy away from it. Now, I'm going to go with the moniker of refuse to lose since I'm a Mariners fan.
I thought you were going to say if you can't beat them, join them. You're welcome to jump on the bandwagon, sir. There's still plenty of room. There's time.
Refuse to lose. And I'm going to go with the Eagles. I'm going to go Eagles 30, Dallas 27. And I'm not.
You winning that on a last-second field goal then? Because if Dak's got the ball in his hands with 2 minutes to go, down 3, baby. I mean, it's money.
I'm going to say no. The Dallas is down 10 points, and then they score, and then the Eagles get the ball back, run the clock out.
Okay.
That should have been your bold. That should have been your you like a lot.
No, the reason I didn't do Uleka locks because I'm 0-2 with Uleka locks. I don't want to be 0-3, so I know.
Oh, so you're not that confident in that play, I guess.
Nah, he was just saying that to rile you up.
Yeah. Well, the name of our Blog of the Boys podcast is Riled Up, by the way. Shameless plug. So make sure you check that out.
Well, we're going to plug you in a second because you've been fantastic, Mr. McConaughey. We appreciate you. You're all right in my book. So,
yes, sir.
You know what? After this episode, I'm going to buy a Lincoln.
Hey, hell yeah, brother. Well, there's no better feeling than driving around aimlessly, just staring at the stars and wondering what's out there. What's might
happening
be,
with this show?
What isn't, what is, and what could be.
Oh my God.
They do have tech next.
Here's what could be. I have picked the Eagles in both weeks because I love the Birds and I think that they were playing against teams that they could beat. This will be the first week that they do not.
That's not the
hear case. A positive prediction for me. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to get slapped around a little bit on Monday night. 31-17. It is going to not be pretty. We cannot keep up with the offensive firepower. And because of the injuries on the offensive line to Brandon Brooks, who is really important, Brandon Graham, who is really important, those injuries are more significant than any problems that Dallas have because the backups aren't good enough yet. Therefore, Jalen Hurts is running for his life, and he's going to continue making young quarterback decisions. Nick Sirianni is going to, under the bright lights, struggle to really lock in a good game plan again, like he did last week. And this is going to be a final of 31-17.
And this is a tough team to prepare against too. You know, what do you stop, right? Because that's kind of what the Cowboys have shown through 2 weeks, right? You can stop our running game in week 1. We can pick you apart passing the ball. You could try to stop Dak Prescott in week 2. He only threw for 250 yards, and they still won the game because they were able to thunder and lightning their way with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. You know, we only briefly have mentioned the tight ends, but both of them have not only made some big plays, but made a big impact. And I did see someone, you know, in the comments section mentioning Amari Cooper. Yes, he does have the bruised ribs, but he sustained those actually in week 1 against Tampa, and he still played through it there against the Chargers until he had to come out there in the fourth quarter because he kind of re-aggravated it. It is a concerning injury for a wide receiver, especially one that takes shots and is willing to go over the middle and might take a shot to the ribs. I expect the Eagles to be keying on that, and if they're not, then they're dumb because that's an opportunity to take somebody out. But truthfully, Amari Cooper is suiting up on Monday night.
He's not suiting up. He only gets 2 chances per year to go against Darius Slay.
Yeah. Bingo, right? He's not going to miss that opportunity. No question about it.
Now, that's where he makes his money. So let's wrap this up. First off, we want to thank you, Roy. So we've been joined tonight as we've been bringing on a special podcaster from each team that we've been playing against this season. So this has been Roy White III. He is the host of the Blogging with the Boys pod, the Extra Crispy pod. He is a Dallas-Fort Worth sports enthusiast. Roy, is there anything else you would like to plug? You have the floor.
Shoot. Thanks, man. You know, Riled Up on the Boys. We do that every Thursday. It is a part of the Blogging the Boys, you know, podcast network. So appreciate you checking that out. We also do a YouTube page where we do a couple roundtables and things. I was on a lot of the Hard Knocks reaction episodes that we did. That was a ton of fun. So, hey, appreciate you boys having me on. And I think you guys are doing some fine work. I love the setup that you got here. And I'm a big fan of, you know, behind-the-scenes stuff. StreamYard, I think, is really solid as well. So, hey, keep doing what you guys are doing. You know, keep kicking ass. And even though we're on different rooting interest this week. I'll be rooting for you guys to have success going forward. And anytime you want to have me back on, man, give me a holler and we'll do it again.
Play him
we'll
a second time. So
We do play you guys a second time. So
yeah. Well, and keep me in the books, right? When things cycle back and you guys are all of a sudden the powerhouse in the NFC East and we're the measly little getting our asses kicked guys. And then you can kick me in the nuts a little bit too. But I got to tell you, I mean, if it's not the hat that makes you feel like a confident man, if it's not the handlebar mustache that I've been rocking here that makes you feel like a confident man, it's the fact that I just grilled a delicious fucking steak over here in the kitchen.
back to the steaks, man.
As I've
been
been
the right way.
I've been grilling it as we've been speaking, right? Just searing it nice and slowly. And it's going to be delicious by the time I get to it here when we get done.
Well, we're going to let you get to it. So real quick, we're going to pay our bills. Again, we are sponsored by so many great, wonderful resources. Make sure you are checking them out. La Terrain Luxury Watches. Use the code AATBIRDS at checkout for 10% off. We are also partnered with Statement Games, a fun-free twist on fantasy sports. Check them out. Link is in the bio. OddsJam.com. You can use their arbitrage calculator to not lose money. Link is in the bio. Don't forget, we have boys. The AAT Sports. What's that?
I said, hell yeah, boys. Trick-shing. Like,
yeah, absolutely. The AATSportsNetwork.com shop, where we have all of our wonderful designs. Make sure you are checking those out. And, of course, our very favorite, Manscaped.com, who's partnered with All About the Birds. Use the code AATBIRDS for 20% off and free shipping at checkout.
Your balls will thank you.
This has been the All About the Birds Weekly Report. Make sure you are liking, subscribing, sharing to all of our wonderful programming. I am Chip at Chip for the Birds. This is Jeff Warner at Jeff Warner NFL. This is Johnny U at Johnny U9322. This is Roy White, a.k.a. Matthew McConaughey. And we will catch you next time. Make sure you're checking out all the good stuff. And as we end every show here on the All About the Birds Network, and Roy, you actually have to say this.
I won't.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
I won't. I can't do it. Go Birds.
Well, then we're going to play a commercial about testicles. Here you go. Peace out.
Attention, listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston. Do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS. Ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped that has just taken off in not only the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system. First, scheduled for liftoff, new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your body, balls, butt, and even Uranus. This 4th generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch, can engage a travel lock, and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight you can turn on and off when needed for a more precise shave throughout your travels across the universe. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Don't forget to use Crop Preserver ball deodorant and their Crop Reviver to help your little planets be on their A-game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Abort hairy balls and Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. For a clean trinity and beyond, your space balls will thank you.